everyone, welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand all the latest cues from the D Street, starting from the benchmark index moves to sectoral action and all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. Today we'll also get you expert views as to how should you be approaching the aviation stocks now after the GoFirst bankruptcy, and is there an opportunity that you should look to grab at this point in time. But first up, a quick check on how the markets are doing at this point in time. Well, after 8 days of continuous momentum on the upside, we are seeing some kind of a subdued momentum on the markets today. 18,079 the current level for the Nifty, that's down about 70 odd points. The Sensex hovering 219 points lower at 61,135 with a cut of 0.3 odd percent at large. Now, why is there a sentiment weakness that you can spot? Of course, the global markets also are looking at some nervousness right ahead of the US FOMC meeting, and therefore the Fed commentary as well as far as the rate action is concerned. And domestically also we are looking at some turbulence in the aviation space as well. So sentiments taking a beating right there. If you talk about the top gainers, however, you do see some of the top movers like HUL, Asian Paints, Coal India, all up in trade. Some of these paint companies also rising on the back of fall in the crude oil prices. Cipla, Ultratech Cement, ITC, the other movers on the top radar in the top Nifty 50 gainers pack. Nestle, Maruti, Hero MotoCorp, clearly the FMCG stocks that are buzzing the most in trade today. Now, when we talk about the laggards in today's trading action, clearly some of the weakness is coming in from the banking space like Axis Bank, L&T from the capital goods pack. ONGC is looking at some profits being taken off the table after yesterday's sharp move on the upside. Hindalco, TCS, the other drags at this point in time. Now, when we talk about the sectoral action, you do see weakness on the Nifty Bank today. That's almost down by 0.4% odd, and contributing to it is the fall in the PSU banks. Remember, most of these banks from the PSU basket have an exposure to GoFirst, and therefore there is some nervousness on how will they recover their financial loss to this organization as well. Autos are slightly down in trade. Financial services also slightly down. 1% cut for the IT pack. There's some weakness on the metal space as well. About 0.6% of a loss for that one. What's still doing well in this trading action is the FMCG stocks and the realty pack as well. But time now to welcome our guest on the show. Rajesh Palma joins in from Axis Securities. Welcome, Rajesh, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Well, 8 straight days of gains and therefore a speed bump that has happened. We have to say that, every month we have some or the other turbulence that takes place that perhaps hits the sentiments on the D Street, and right now it's the aviation company GoFirst and the bankruptcy right there. Is that the prime reason why the markets are, looking at this weakness in the sentiments, or are there other reasons, according to you, that may hit the sentiment going forward from here too?
Good afternoon, Sakshi. So overall, if we analyze the market setup, it seems to be on the bullish side. And looking at the overall setup, we believe that Nifty is likely to continue furthermore, upside from the current level also. Some profit taking is happening in the today's session ahead of this Fed meeting, and there is some negative news in terms of banking space, like GoFirst is going for their insolvency. So some sentiment is taking hit at this moment, but overall, if we analyze the other sector and large cap space, it clearly suggesting us that it's a buy and dips kind of market, and until Nifty not breaks below 17,900, 17,950 level on weekly closing basis, any dip towards those level are going to remain as a buying opportunity in the market. On the higher side, most of the call writers are aggressive for 18,200, 18,300 strike. So once Nifty manages to cross over 18,200, then some round of short covering action we can expect in the market, and then probably Nifty can scale up further higher towards 18,400 level also. So one should remain on the long side. Keep your stop losses at around 17,900. One can adopt around dips kind of strategy. Even if we analyze the banking sector also, the bank Nifty is also clearly in bullish zone. 43,000, 42,900 is the important level for this corrective action, which we are
Sure.
Seeing in today's session. So until Bank Nifty not breaks below 42,900, it's a buy on dips kind of market, and on the breakout above 43,500, Bank Nifty can further extend its upward momentum towards 44,000 level also. So both indices are looking attractive. Buy on dip should be your strategy at this level.
Okay, understood. That still remain on the long side. The bullish trend of the markets to remain intact, and there could be some short covering soon. Stop losses is what you should be focused on, but definitely the trend remains on the upside, is what Rajesh believes. But let's now focus on the pockets that are in the buzzing zone today. Aviation stocks have, like, Indigo, Spicejet, they are rising today on the back of GoFirst bankruptcy. Now, Indigo, in fact, has touched a 52-week high level today. Spicejet was trading up 4% as well. This is after yesterday GoFirst filed for voluntary insolvency resolution proceedings before the NCLT, and the airline has already halted its operations for 3 days. That's May 3rd today, May 4th and May 5th, and that is due to the serious cash shortage that the company has talked about in its filing as well. And this has put the spotlight on India's biggest airline by market share, Indigo. That's also a listed company. Rajesh, I really wanted to ask you first on Indigo and then on Spicejet and the overall aviation space as well. Do you think this news is actually advantage Indigo? We have seen the stock really react positively, but is there an opportunity for investors who may be looking at this at time to really tap on the opportunity in the aviation basket stocks? Should one go for Indigo?
So if we analyze the overall aviation sector in India, we have seen a lot of aviation company have defaulted earlier
Yeah.
also, and very few companies are showing good financial. And one of the company that is Indigo that you have already mentioned. So Interglobe Aviation is the only company which is clearly indicating that some positivity is there, financials are stable, and some profitability is there. So looking at overall aviation sector, we only believe that Indigo can be one stock where one can look at to remain long, because if go first is go for this bankruptcy, then definitely Indigo will get more market share, and they will try to capture more market share because of that this airlines is going to shut their business. So Indigo is the clear buy at this moment. In today's price action also, we are seeing that the stock managed to do breakout of 2050. That was the critical level for the stock since last few months. And but in today's session, it's a decisive breakout we have seen in the stock prices for Indigo. So looking at the overall setup, we believe that this stock can continue furthermore upside towards 20 to 50, 20 to 80 level on the higher side. So one can remain long in the Indigo, keep your stop losses now at around 2120 to hold
Okay.
your long position. We believe that furthermore upside we can expect in the stock prices. Spicejet, if you analyze, still stock is in downtrend, and we believe that until the stock not manages to cross above 38 or 40 level, then the trend is likely to remain on the bearish side. So because of this news flow, contra break are taking place in the jet prices also. So our advice would be to exit from Spicejet if stocks moves towards 36 or 38 level. One can exit in stock because overall trend for Spicejet is on the bearish side only.
Okay. What about Jet Airways? We do know that it's a defunct airline, but still, the stock is still listed on the exchanges. And there are investors who still have this stock in their portfolios as well. And due to this kind of a move on the upside, we did see a slight momentum on the Jet Airways stock as well. What would you really advise investors who still have this stock in their portfolio? And for fresh investors as well, is Jet Airways still a no-go area?
So overall structure is very weak, and stock is continuously forming low top, lower bottom formation on daily, weekly chart. So there is nothing to remain bullish on the Jet Airways. Yes, some spike is there, but again, stock is locked for 5% upper circuit.
Yeah.
So there is no such opportunity as of now for the stock to go long or short. So our advice, one can exit in the stock if any pullback continues further towards 65 or 70 level. One can
Yeah.
exit from the stock and can switch to the Indigo. One can buy and accumulate Indigo because Indigo looks attractive, and we have seen very stable kind of price behavior since last couple of months in the stock prices despite of volatility in the market. So overall, Indigo, we believe that in the aviation sector, Indigo can continue its outperformance to other aviation listed companies.
Right. So apart from the market share, do you also see structurally other benefits that Indigo can reap on? I mean, I believe Bank of America Securities that came out with a report saying about 9% of the market share is something that would be up for grabs for the Tata Group, which is the other major player in the Indian aviation space, and Indigo as well.
So we believe that Indigo is having major market share at this moment for this airlines. So we believe that Indigo can capture further more market
Okay.
share. So Indigo would be the direct beneficiary if at all this process continues further on the bankruptcy for GoFirst. So I think Indigo would be the direct beneficiary for this thing.
Got that. Right now, for all our viewers who still want to know what is the current market share like in the Indian aviation space as of March this year, we do know that Indigo maintained a market leader with a 56.8% market share, followed by Vistara, which had 8.9% market share, followed by Air India, which has an 8.8% market share. Both of them will be clubbed now. GoFirst had a 6.9% market share as of March, followed by Spicejet that had a 6.4% market share as well. Another factor that I wanted to discuss with you, interestingly, just about 2 years ago or so, we were looking at how GoFirst was actually planning to list itself on the stock exchanges. They had also come near filing it, DRHP, getting approvals for all of that. And this happens just 2 years later. So would it be like, how are you looking at this scenario as a whole? This perhaps has led to a lot of anxiety to all the investors looking at future IPOs, in such a space as well. What would your take be here?
So I think one should always remain very cautious if any IPO comes from this aviation space, because it's very cost sensitive sector, and we believe profit margins are very thin, and cost is very high to operate these kind of business. So
Yeah,
one should be very selective to invest in aviation sector until unless you don't see the performance in terms of their quarterly number and growth in terms of market share. One should be very selective and choosy to invest in aviation sector. We have
sure.
already seen a lot of airlines which have already defaulted in earlier past also. We have seen Kingfisher Airlines, Sara Airlines, and so many other airlines. One point of time they were flourish their business, but they are not able to manage their business and their profitability, and until unless if you don't have stable market share, or gaining the market share, it's very difficult to survive in this kind of sector. So aviation sector is very one should be very selective and choosy
Correct.
to invest in this sector.
Correct. We also see this news development has happened at a time when Brent crude prices have been on a declining trend. In fact, overnight also we did see a 5% decline. The crude is trading at $75 a barrel. Now, lower crude prices are always a big positive for the aviation companies. Would this be an added on benefit at this point in time for the existing players like Indigo you talked about?
Yeah, definitely. So crude oil ATF prices is always a beneficiary for airlines companies. So that benefit is already there in the prices. Stock price is also showing that kind of price appreciation which we have seen since last couple of weeks. And looking at the passenger traffic, which is also increasing, and if we look at the cost of tickets also, that is also substantially
Yeah.
moved up. So overall benefit is coming to the sector, but again, one needs to watch in the financials of the company how cost effectively they are running their flights, and what kind of market share they are enjoying, and in which areas they are operating. So that is the major critical area for all the airlines company, and where Indigo is having upper hand, and most of the part they have covered by their flights, and they are
Sure.
keep on increase on the growth trajectory in terms of market share. So that's why
Right.
we are bullish on that sector, that
Right.
stock.
On the flip side, there is some cautiousness that we are seeing in the PSU banking space. The lenders, they are seeing some kind of decline because some of them have major exposure to GoFirst financials as well, and banks may be at the risk. What do you really think that investor strategy should be on some of the stocks like Central Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Axis Bank, IDBI Bank? These are the banks that are from the listed space, and investors who who have their money. Of course, PSU banks have already had a very sharp run in the past levels, but can this really brew some trouble for those investors who've been looking at a medium-term returns from these companies? What should they be doing now?
So as such, it's not a big portion of their lending book to this GoFirst. So I think yes, there is some reaction to this news flow, because this is all of sudden happened, and so some profit taking, some cautious approach is taken by the investor. But I don't think there is much to worry about this bankruptcy. There
Okay.
could be some hit on the balance sheet, but I think the other part of their lending book can do well, and most of the banks are well capitalized, and their NPAs are also keep on on the lower trajectory. So we believe that some knee-jerk reaction is there, but again this sector can again perform very well, because most of the banks are displaying their good quarterly earnings as of now. So we believe that this sector can again bounce back, and so one can use these dips as a buying opportunity in Bank of Baroda,
Okay.
even other banks which you mentioned. So there is nothing to worry as such by this announcement which GoFirst has announced last night.
Okay, got that. Well, thank you so much, Rajesh, for being with us on the show and discussing these insights about the entire aviation space and the banking space. How does one approach be, amid this development in the aviation sector on GoFirst bankruptcy as well? Market still down in trade, about 186 points gone for the Sensex. The Nifty is hovering down about 60 odd points at 18,088. We'll keep an eye on how the markets move in the second half of trading action. 2.5 hours left for today's trade. Will it be a pause after 8 days rally or not? We'll continue to track every movement, and you can do that too by staying with us on this platform. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also continue to engage with us on our other social media platforms as well. Until then, thanks for tuning in.
It's round one to artificial intelligence. In the tug of war for jobs, its advantage AI with